However, I believe that the affirmative team's plan will not achieve this. Now in this speech, I'd like to respond to the arguments and the responses made by the affirmative team. Now I'd like to mainly focus on my chart that I brought up, talking about how the US actually ships 72% of food aid in the current system. And I think that what this really goes to show is that if my chart is proven true, if my chart is upheld at the end of the day, the affirmative team's plan will not make any changes. Now, the affirmative team had two main responses to this argument. Their first argument was talking about how the government chooses CPFA ships. They're saying that the government's choice to choose 72% ships, and that doesn't necessarily mean that foreign ships are worse than United States ships. I have two main responses to this. Firstly, no evidence. No evidence. I asked the affirmative team evidence on the bidding process. They referred back to my piece of evidence talking about the GAO, but I'll go later into depth, going back to the GAO evidence to prove that this isn't actually the situation. But even if the government is choosing 72% of US ships, I still think that we shouldn't pass their plan. And the reason why is that even if we pass the CPFA, we will not lower the 72% amount. This argument you can remember, our response you can remember as doesn't lower amount of ships. Doesn't lower amount of ships. So I'm gonna give an analogy. Let's say that my mom takes me to the library and my mom says that you have to select at least 5 books. And let's say I love reading, so and because I love reading, I select 7 books and I go above that 5-book mark. Now, if I really hated reading, then I would go directly at the 5-book mark to minimize the amount of reading that I have to do. I would go all the way down to that 50% mark. And what this shows is that I love reading. I go to the 7-book mark. So why does this matter to this debate round? So let's say the affirmative team is right. Let's say that the government is actually choosing CPFA ships in the current system. They're choosing above the 50% benchmark. They're choosing 72% of US ships. What this shows is that because they're above the 50% benchmark, that means that the government really likes United States ships. That means that the government will, and the affirmative team doesn't really change that. The affirmative team's plan will not change the fact that the government really likes the United States ships. All the affirmative team's plan really does is get rid of that 50% mark. And what will happen is that as a result of their plan, governments will still choose 72% of ships with and without their plan. Their removing the 50% mark will not matter. If governments really love ships, they'll continue to choose 72% of ships in the future, even after their plan. In other words, the affirmative team will make no change to the current system. But I like to argue that there's actually a different bidding process, and that different bidding process of whether or not to choose US ships or foreign ships is choosing whichever ship is most effective. I'd like to read the GAO evidence again. It says, when USAID does not receive a US flag bid, which means the invitation for a company to bid on a project, the agency selects the lowest cost foreign vessel and advises MARED on the results of the procurement via DNA. And this is the belief that I actually have in the current system. I think that the way that the government is choosing CPFA ships is by choosing the, quote, the lowest cost, unquote. And I think this really makes sense. They choose the lowest cost, they choose the most effective ships. So if a foreign ship is cheaper than the United States ship, they're going to choose the foreign ships. If the United States ship is cheaper than the foreign ships, they're going to choose the United States ships. In other words, the government is not making a decision whether or not they like US ships or foreign ships. It's purely based off of the shipping rates. So the fact that the United States is shipping 72.7% of food aid shows that the United States has been performing better than foreign ships. In other words, this shows that the United States has been bidding lower, they have lower costs than foreign ships. And why is this important? This proves that we, as the current system, are upholding an effective system. Now, the whole idea of the affirmative team's case is that when we have effective shipping rates, we will increase the amount of food aid. What the evidence shows is that the United States actually has more effective shipping, more effective rates than the affirmative team's plan. If the affirmative team has intended effect and we increase the amount of foreign ships, we will be decreasing our efficiency. Now, the next study was talking about a 2025 study. They were talking about how in 2025 they still concluded the CPFA is bad. My response you can remember as faulty data. Faulty data. I'd like to read a piece of evidence. I'm sorry, I don't think I actually had enough time to read the piece of evidence, but I'd like to paraphrase what this evidence is saying. What this evidence said is that in 2021, when COVID was at its rise, COVID caused so many industry problems within the shipping area, and this really shook up the shipping industry. So 2021, there was a big shakeup in the industry costs. And what this shows is that at pre-2021, there are completely different shipping costs. Post-2021, there are completely different shipping costs. Their 2025 study is analyzing data from 2013 to 2024. That's analyzing pre-COVID data. And our data is from 2024 from the USAID.